Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Coming to you live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line for an exciting day of playoff action and Major League Baseball here on Easter Sunday. You can hit me up on Twitter at Scott's On Air. Hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live. You can see I'm wearing my Easter-inspired pastel-colored shirt. Yeah, I think it brings out the color of my eyes, which are brown. So there's no color anyway. But we have so much to get into because we do have Major League Baseball games going on. Series will come to a conclusion. You know what that means. It is a System Sunday here on the schedule. So I will update you on all of that. Plus, we have to talk about everything that went down in both the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs. Yesterday in the NBA, we saw a rout with the Pacers blowing out the Bucks, an overtime game where the Nuggets edged the Clippers, a second half rout where the Knicks trailed by double figures and came back to dominate the fourth quarter against the Pistons, and a blowout with the Timberwolves dominating the Los Angeles Lakers. And then on the ice, it was the Jets in come-from-behind fashion beating the St. Louis Blues in Game 1 of their series, and the Colorado Avalanche Dallas Stars series, which I expect to go deep. The score doesn't really tell you exactly how that game played out. It was 5-1 Avalanche on the final, but this was a 2-1 game until late when Dallas pulled their goaltender in the final minutes. So don't let the scoreboard fool you and show you exactly what you think might not have happened in that game. But that's what happened yesterday. As far as what's going to happen today, let's set the scene. And so we are going to tell you exactly what's going to come down here today. We have on the NBA playoff schedule, the Grizzlies at the Thunder, Game 1 of their first round series with OKC laying 13.5 points with a total of 229. That total is important because I'm going to tell you exactly what we have to play given the recent history of these early start times in the NBA playoffs. Then at 3:30 Eastern time, the Magic at the Celtics, Game 1 of their Eastern Conference first round series with Boston also a 13.5 point favorite. Total there is the lowest we've seen so far here in the NBA playoffs, 205.5. An extremely low total here for the Celtics hosting the Magic. Coming up tonight, 7:10 Eastern time from Cleveland, it's the Cavs hosting the Miami Heat, who are very impressive, winning 2 road games in the NBA play-in round. Cleveland, a heavy 12.5 point favorites with a total of 215. We'll see if Miami can parlay that magic that they had in the play-in rounds and go on the road once again and try and steal a game from the number 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers. Then what might be one of the most intriguing series we've had in quite some time coming up later tonight, Game 1 between the Warriors and the Rockets. The Rockets are a short 1 point favorite at home. This line's been jumping back and forth. Why I say it's an interesting series is because the Golden State Warriors, the 7 seed that was in the play-in round, is the favorite over the 2 seed Houston Rockets in the series price. Updating the series markets right now, looking at the Warriors against the Rockets, Warriors minus 180 on the series price, and the Rockets plus 150 on the comeback. So we have a 2 seed with the second best record in a Western Conference that no one's going to argue was the better conference this year in the NBA, and yet they are the dogs in the series to the Golden State Warriors. But this line has now moved, and the Rockets are a 1 point favorite, which is where it opened. So it opened Rockets 1. We had some back and forth action. Rockets here are a 1 point home favorite over the Golden State Warriors. On the ice, we have several game ones in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Devils will take on the Hurricanes in Carolina. This is a 3:10 Eastern time start, where Carolina is a heavy minus 218 favorite. All the totals today are at 5.5, so I'm not going to mention the totals. They are all at 5.5. But Carolina, a minus 218 favorite over the New Jersey Devils. Coming up tonight at 7:10 Eastern time, the Toronto Maple Leafs host the Ottawa Senators in the battle for Ontario. It'll be the first time these teams have faced in the playoffs in quite several years, but Toronto has always had the best of Ottawa when these two teams have met in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Toronto a minus 166 favorite here in game one. And then later on tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern time, but 7 o'clock locally here in Vegas, the Golden Knights host the Minnesota Wild. VGK a minus 205 favorite over the Minnesota Wild. And I am on record saying that if there was one series that I could see being a sweep, it's this one. It's the Vegas Golden Knights against the Minnesota Wild, because in my opinion, this is the biggest mismatch of any first-round series. And yes, I know that there are some other series that are maybe a little bit more expensive on the series price. Like VGK right now is a minus 215 favorite to win the series over the Wild. Carolina is minus 245 over the Devils. The Capitals are minus 320 over the Canadiens. And I'm not counting the Avalanche and Jets, who both won their game ones yesterday. But forget about the Carolina Hurricanes. Forget about the Washington Capitals. If I had to pick one series to be a sweep, it would be the Vegas Golden Knights against the Minnesota Wild. But you know what? I'm not even going to pick the sweep. I'm not. I'm actually going to sprinkle a little bit on the sweep, though. It's plus 800 if you want the exact score. Knights to win in a sweep. But at plus 400, the Knights to win in what we call the gentleman's sweep, 4-1. The Knights will win the first 2 games at home. They'll let Minnesota get 1 game on their home ice. And then the Knights will wrap up the series here in Vegas in game 5. The reason why I like this so much is because you ever envision a scenario in your mind and you could literally see it as if it's already happened. That's how I see this playoff series, because I'm a big storyline guy. I love a good story. And the great story here is the end of the Hall of Fame career of goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury. For the Minnesota Wild, in their last regular season game when they clinched a playoff spot, they put Marc-Andre Fleury in to play the overtime period. He got the win, number 575 of his career, in the final regular season game of his career. The team all mobbed him. The opposing team, the Ducks that lost, lined up to shake his hand afterwards. A lot of teams showing respect to the great Flower. Well, Marc-Andre Fleury is Vegas royalty. First pick for this franchise in the expansion draft, a huge part in why this Golden Knights franchise was so embraced by this community. Marc-Andre Fleury played a pivotal role in that. After the events of the Route 66 concert and then everything that happened with the team going to the final, Marc-Andre Fleury was an incredible ambassador for this organization. He is beloved here in Vegas. And what better way to end a Hall of Fame career than to have his final game be played right here in Vegas, where he gets to say goodbye to the fans that loved him. Now, he might not play, but he will get a nice goodbye when the Knights win this series 4-1 at plus 400 is my bet for this series. I'm not going off of some of my other first-round bets that I have, including the Winnipeg Jets to win their series, which they did and they won game 1 and come from behind fashion over the St. Louis Blues. The Avalanche over the Stars, because the Stars are just banged up, although I was very impressed with what I saw, honestly, from Dallas yesterday, fighting back and being down 2-0. The first goal was completely fluky off of the skate of Arturi Lehkonen. It was not a kicking motion, but it's just a fluky bounce to get that first goal. They give up the second goal on the power play. They make it a 2-1 game in the third period, but then they pull the goaltender and the floodgates just open and the Avalanche win 5-1. The Stars are just too banged up. Without Miro Heiskanen on their blue line, without Jason Robertson, their best forward, they can't compete. They can't really contend with this incredible Avalanche team. I do think they win a couple of games, though, and I got the Avalanche winning in 6 in that one. Toronto, I got beating the Senators. I do have the Kings over the Oilers as one of my best upset bets, and we'll get into that series coming up a little bit later on. I mentioned VGK over the Wild. The Lightning, I have beating the Panthers. That series doesn't begin until Tuesday. And then 2 upset plays, because why not? I got the Canadiens over the Capitals and the Devils over the Hurricanes. The Devils and Hurricanes game 1 is coming up later on today, and I might be intrigued to sprinkle a little bit on the Devils' money line here. In game 1, you can get north of plus 175. But we'll talk plenty of hockey coming up a little bit later on with our very own Jonathan Davis. You read his incredible work at VSiN.com, so you don't want to miss that segment. Will Hill will join me. Will and I co-hosted VSiN Primetime Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week, so we were tracking all of the action going on in the NBA playoffs, so we're going to get to Will. Eli Hershkovitz will get his NBA best bets, maybe an NFL draft pick or two, and then our very own Jonathan Von Tobel, JVT, will join us to get his best bets for the NBA playoff games coming up a little bit later on today. But speaking of the NBA playoffs, I mentioned the Lakers were an embarrassment last night. So much so that Magic Johnson had to comment on it. I'll let you know what Magic had to say. Plus, how do the Lakers respond from last night's loss? And which team that lost yesterday in the NBA playoffs has the best chance to come back and still win their series? We'll tell you all of it coming up next. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at ScottsOnAir, ScottsOnair. You can hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live. We are just getting started on a very busy day of playoff action here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Back here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at ScottsOnAir, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. As we talk NBA playoffs, and last night, an embarrassing game for the Los Angeles Lakers. There's no other way to put it. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat the performance by LA. This was one of the worst offensive performances I've watched the Lakers play all season. Literally, they had absolutely no systems being run, no plays being run. This was one-man basketball. This was Luka Doncic early on doing whatever he wanted with the ball, and 4 other players standing around. Luka started off the first quarter on fire. There's no doubt about it. And I don't know what the strategy was from the Lakers in this game that led to them being such an embarrassment that Magic Johnson had this to say. Quote, "Tonight was one of the Lakers' worst performances this season. They were flat, had no energy, and they played like it was a regular season game," end quote. No, in the regular season, they were better, Magic. They were a lot better. When the Lakers acquired Luka, something that jumped out right away was they picked up the defensive intensity. There was a slew of unders once Luka came to the Lakers. In fact, if you looked at their net rating, and you go to the NBA advanced stats and you checked it out, ever since when they first acquired Luka, he then, elevated the team's defense, which is hard to believe because Luka's not a good defensive player. But they became the best defensive team in the NBA. And that's something that JJ Redick prides himself on. He is a big, scouting guy. And what I mean by that is they do advanced scouting on the opposing teams. They know the tendencies. They build a defensive scheme. And what I thought was the reason why we were getting all these unders with the Lakers once they acquired Luka is because LeBron James, who we know to be an elite defender, could now pick up the intensity on defense And the other players could pick up the intensity on defense because they didn't have to rely on LeBron to be the offense, because they finally had another player that could give them the scoring, and that was Luka. And so we saw the team buy in defensively, and then Luka provide the offense. Then LeBron James goes down with an injury. Lakers start being lackadaisical on defense. Bunch of overs start kicking in. LeBron comes back, and it's a mixed bag. And then last night, the way the game started, where the Lakers took a big lead over the Timberwolves, Luka was 3 of 4 from three-point range to start the game. He was the entire offense for the Lakers. He had at one point like 14 points. Rui Hachimura hit a three-pointer for 3 points, and that was it. Like, no one else scored for the Lakers. And no one else even took a shot. LeBron, I think, was like 0 for 1. In fact, LeBron James went the entire first quarter, and the first 2 and change, maybe, about 3 minutes or so of the second quarter, without recording a single point, a single assist, or a single rebound. When was the last time, and I don't know this offhand, so I could try, and I tried to look this up last night, and I couldn't really find anything. When was the last time LeBron James went an entire first quarter where he didn't score a point, have 1 rebound, or 1 assist? How do you win a playoff game when LeBron James has that effort? And I'm not accusing LeBron of not having a good effort in the game. I'm just saying, whatever was the reason for the Lakers to come out and play that way, it made absolutely no sense. No passing. They weren't getting any assists on their buckets. It was ISO basketball with Luka dominating the ball and taking the shots. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves were passing all over the place, assist after assist, three-pointer after three-pointer, and I get it. Three-pointers are variance. It's all luck. They shot, at one point, 57% from three-point range. And you knew they were going to cool off. They didn't cool off that much because they were still over 50%. But their offense was so much better than the Lakers. And when LeBron's teams lose game 1 of a playoff series, it tends to not bode well for them the remainder of the series. Now, this data that I have here is prior to last season. So let's see. I actually have to look this up to see if we can update this system from last year's series. Let's see. I'll tell you exactly what it is. But last year in the playoffs, because I can update this right now, LeBron James against, let's see, last year was the Denver Nuggets. They lost game 1. All right, perfect. So now I have the updated data. When a LeBron James team wins game 1 of a playoff series, that team goes on to win the series 93.3% of the time. Yes. 28-2. 28 wins and 2 losses in a postseason series when LeBron James wins game 1. When LeBron James loses game 1, his teams are 12-12 in the playoffs in that series. Winning game 1, 28-2. Losing game 1, 12-12. Come on. That's how important last night's game was. And the Lakers played like they didn't care. Now, here's your updated series price for the Lakers and the Nuggets. Right now, Right now, Minnesota is a minus 150 favorite to win this series. And some would say they stole home court advantage, right? They say a series doesn't begin until a team loses a home game. Lakers lost a home game. But here's the thing. If LA wins game 2 and this series is even, and the market's going to react accordingly, which doesn't make sense to me. Because the Timberwolves did their job. They earned at least the split in LA. But the market will flip here and push the Lakers to a favorite once again. I think this is a good time to buy in on the Lakers. I think at plus 125, I'd like it to be a little bit more, but I like the Lakers in game 2. I think there's a bounce back for the Lakers in game 2. The market agrees. The Lakers were 4-point favorites, 4.5 the highest at some books for game 1. They're a 5-point favorite for game 2. Now, there's that zigzag that comes into play. And believe me, we are going to pay the tax all postseason long on the zigzag. And what I mean by that is when you play the team that loses the prior game, especially at home, you're going to get taxed on that team in the next game, which is why the Lakers are -5. And where you see this tax really come into play is in the first half spread. Because the belief is that the team that lost that game that needs the win at home, and this is more so the case for the teams that are down 0-2, like you lose the first 2 games on the road, and then you have the home game in game 3, you'll often see the first half spread be almost equivalent to the full game spread because that's how much the sports books are taxing you on this. To me, I like the Lakers to come back and win this series. I especially like the Lakers in game 2. I really like the Lakers in game 2. They'll figure this out. LeBron James will not be a ghost in the first quarter. In fact, a bet that I might want to make in game 2 is LeBron James over first quarter points because he's not going to put another over like he did in game number 1. We're going to talk more NBA playoffs coming up in about 5 minutes or so with our next guest, Will Hill. But I want to tell you guys about Profit X right now, a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40-plus states, the first of its kind in the U.S., and that means you're going to be making your sports picks against other groups of fans rather than against sports books. And exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%, and you can even request your own odds. Right now, download Profit X and use promo code VSiN, and you can earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. Profit X offering the best odds on baseball all season long. Once again, coming up next, we're going to be joined by our very own Will Hill as we talk more about the NBA playoffs. I'll get his thoughts on the Lakers' performance, if he does like them to bounce back in Game 2, my LeBron James first quarter lean, as well as Will's picks for the NBA playoff games coming up later on today. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. You can hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live. We have so much to get to. Let's not waste any time. This is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Back here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on an Easter Sunday, wearing my beautiful pastel shirt. I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Always on Twitter at Scott's On Air, talking NBA playoffs, coming up a little more Stanley Cup playoff action and Major League Baseball system plays here for Sunday. Joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line as we talk more NBA playoffs is our very own Will Hill. And Will, him and I co-hosted VSiN Primetime Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. Will, you and I were tracking all of the NBA playoff games to play in games and then games that happened over the course of the week. Last night, Lakers get the doors blown off of them in what was probably the most confusing game that I've seen them play this year, where LeBron James goes the first 15 minutes without recording a single point, assist, or rebound. How do you expect the Lakers to bounce back in game 2 after what you saw last night?
Yeah, I mean, we've just seen this so much with game 1, the team at home loses, in game 2, they bounce back. There's, a lot of things that they need it more in game 2. The team that's on the road in one game 1, they say, all right, we did our job. We got our split on the road. Now they're going to say all the right things, Minnesota. We want to go for the kill. We want to get both in LA. It's hard to fake desperation. And I think that, the team down 0-1 here, the Lakers are going to come out with their hair on fire. Minnesota's not going to shoot. At one point, they were 20 of 36 from three, 56%. It's just insane what they shot from three. And guys that you don't expect to make threes like they did. So some regression probably coming there. Big picture, I would be a little concerned about the Lakers. I mean, they only scored 95 points. I know it looks like Luka had this unbelievable game, 37 points, but a lot of that was early and a lot of that was late when the game was really decided. And you hit on it too. LeBron, that's the first time. I know for 40 he's great and all this, but that's the first time where I've really thought he's looked old in a playoff game where you barely noticed he's out there. He didn't bring the energy on defense. Like you said, he didn't record a stat in the first 15 minutes. And they're going to get, they're going to eventually be a situation where they have to play every other day in the series. And this is game one of round one. If this is a Laker team that people think can make a run to the Western Conference Finals or beyond, again, it's only one game. LeBron has had a habit of pacing themselves and feeling out the opponent in game one and being fine from there. But certainly a concerning performance if you're Lakers. But I do think they bounce back and win pretty comfortably here in game two. So I'll lay the 5 with the Lakers.
I was about to say, would you take the 5 right now? Because I actually think that moves up. I'm surprised we're not getting taxed even more. This is only a point tax from what we saw in game one. So I'm definitely going to take the 5. Would you be interested in Lakers first half?
Yeah, I didn't look yet, but they've gotten good about these. Like when a team's down 1-0 or they're down 2-0, and that was a great bet for a lot of years to just take the first half with the home team down 2-0 or in this situation 1-0. I'd still look for the Lakers if it's reasonably priced, but sometimes you see this situation where, especially it's more in game 3 than game 2, but in game 3, when these teams are down 2-0, they're home and they're like maybe an underdog for the game, but a favorite for the first half because people are onto that angle. The angle has been very good, very profitable over the years. But I absolutely would, as long as the price is reasonable, which I haven't looked at. I would expect Lakers to come out and play a good first half, play a good game. So I would look towards the Lakers first half too.
As far as what else we saw yesterday, whether it was the Pacers blowing out the Bucks, the Nuggets edging the Clippers in overtime, taking their first lead of the game in the fourth quarter, or their first lead since the first quarter in the fourth quarter, and the Knicks in come from behind fashion, a dominating fourth quarter against the Pistons. Based on those results, where are you on a series bet from those teams?
Nuggets Clippers didn't change my expectations much.
That
was a bad loss for the Clippers.
So you're still on the Clippers?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that would be a 7-gamer. I still think it'll be a 7-gamer. The Clippers had a chance to land a knockout punch, and you always feel bad when you're the road team and you got a chance to steal one, and you don't do it. And the same goes really for Detroit. That was one. I know you're on Knicks in 5 or less, so that was good for you. I really thought Detroit, I think it was 90-81, late third, early fourth quarter. I thought, man, Detroit might do this. And then, oh, man, all hell broke loose. The turnovers, missed dunks, and to not even cover for Detroit, by the way, was a rough one. So anytime you have a chance like you're the Clippers or the Pistons to steal one on the road and you got a sizable lead and it doesn't happen, that's never a good omen. So, I would take that into account. And, boy, that was ugly for Milwaukee. They still have the best player in the series in Giannis, and Indy doesn't have any chance of guarding him. If Giannis can just make some free throws, who knows? Maybe that series can be more competitive, but you have a background in talk radio. If they lose this series in 5 or 6 or whatever this series ends, it's going to be, where's Giannis going next? Because that roster's gotten stale around him. The Dame trade has not worked out like they expected. Now, again, it's only game 1. Maybe they get lured back. Maybe this is a long series ahead of us, and maybe this is a run from Milwaukee, but certainly doesn't look like it. And I think the whispers are going to start to occur here about where Giannis might play next.
100%. Also, the Doc Rivers hire just not looking great for the Milwaukee Bucks. Joined by our very own Will Hill. You see him all the time here on VSiN, also host of the Shoulda Bet More podcast. Joining us on the Progressive Guest Line, I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line as we set the stage for the NBA playoff games coming up here on this Easter Sunday. Let's start with the first game, Will. You got the Thunder hosting the Grizzlies. This is a 1 o'clock Eastern time start, and we've talked about this before. That means I'm on the under. I just looked this up earlier today. If you start a NBA playoff game at 1 o'clock Eastern time, this is going back to the start of the 2021 season, so post-COVID, 12-2 to the under.
Pretty strong stuff. It makes sense, too. Look, I'm not going to just blindly back trends, but if I can explain them and if they're rational, I'm all in. And I think this one does make sense because NBA players, they're night creatures. They play late, they sleep late, they wake up late, they do everything late. So 1 o'clock Eastern is a very early start. The crowd maybe hasn't settled in yet. You got an OKC team that's home, that's rested, that is really good defensively. So I would certainly look towards an under. And I don't do a lot of same game parlays, but there's one player I am really targeting for unders. And I don't know if I'm going to go points, rebounds, assists, maybe a little all three. Scottie Pippen Jr., I think, will be guarding SGA. And he's a very aggressive defender to begin with. And SGA is a foul drawing machine. If Pippen Jr. is on him, I could see a situation where he gets 2 quick ones early, 3 in the first half, and he's just either restricted to the bench, eventually fouls out. I would be looking at Pippen Jr. unders because I think SGA can really get him into foul trouble.
Love that. And also just a reminder, Oklahoma City is Central Time Zone, so this is actually a noon start time locally.
Good point.
For the Thunder and the Grizzlies. Your total 230 around there. I definitely love an under, and I love the Thunder to cover. The Grizzlies coming off the play-in round. I think Oklahoma City just runs them out of the building here in Game 1. As far as the next game is concerned, 3:30 Eastern time from Boston. The Celtics hosting the Magic. Boston also a 13.5-point favorite. You gave out a best bet earlier this week on the Magic team total to go under. Why don't you explain why you like Boston to limit Orlando's scoring?
Yeah, and the market is moving against me here. We're up to 96.5 at DraftKings. I like the under. I just don't think Orlando can score well enough. I think Boston's got so many bodies, so many long athletic defenders they can throw at Paolo Banchero, and they can double him. They can just say, Paolo, you can beat us. We'll double you, let anyone else beat us. Or they can say, Paolo, you can just shoot 1,000,000 times and nobody else is being there. There's a lot of ways for Boston to attack this. And at the end of the day, Orlando, dead last in the league in 3-point made per game at 11. Dead last in the league in 3-point percentage, around 31%. You got a Boston team that's home, that's rested, that's hungry. The malaise of the regular season is over. This is the playoffs now. This is the real season for them. I think anytime you win a championship, there's a little bit of a hangover effect, especially Boston team that finally got over the hump. What do you have to prove over an 82-game regular season? Well, you can go 82-0. It doesn't matter. It's all about April, May, and June for this team now. So I think you're going to get a different level of intensity from them. And to me, this is a good matchup. I guess the reason this is ticked up, I always like to think about, why can this bet lose? Why is the market moving? What's the other side of this bet? I guess Boston plays at such a frenetic pace, shoots so many threes that will give more possessions to Orlando, I guess. But I just think defensively, this is a great matchup for Boston. I think they can really throttle this Magic offense.
Final thing, Will, we got about a minute or so left. Your take on Warriors-Rockets. Houston, a short 1-point favorite tonight.
Didn't bet Game 1. I like the Rockets plus 1.5. I think they have some real advantages in terms of athleticism, youth, size. They're a huge team. To me, this can be a very feisty series because Udoka's a feisty coach. He's not afraid to get in your face. And then you got guys like Adams and some of these Rocket young guys. Mix that with Butler and Draymond. This has all the makings of a lot of fireworks, a lot of intensity. I just think this can go 7. Once the series goes every other day, with the Warriors' big three of Draymond, Butler, Curry, those are older guys. Rockets are a lot younger. Rockets are athletic. I can't quite get there in picking them because I have too much respect for Curry. So I think Warriors ultimately win in 7 on the road, which is an unusual way to pick it, but I'm going to take the Rockets plus 1.5. You have to like $1.10, $1.15 or so.
I love it. I don't get the disrespect here for the Houston Rockets. It's all about the public nature of this Warriors team. Will Hill, appreciate the time and the insight. Good luck with your bets. Enjoy the games today.
All right, Scott, appreciate having me. See you guys.
There he is, our very own Will Hill. You see him all the time here on VSiN, also host of the Shoulda Bet More podcast. Want to remind you guys, wherever you are, whether you're at home, on the road, or on the go, right now, there's more ways than ever to tune in to VSiN. You can stream us live on VSiN.com. You can watch the VSiN Watch app, YouTube TV, listen on iHeartRadio, or watch us Fire TV, Roku, or listen SiriusXM, channel 158. No excuse. VSiN. Everywhere you are. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, right here on the Sports Betting Network.
Tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Back here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. Happy Easter Sunday to those out there celebrating. My thanks to Will Hill for joining us on our previous segment, talking a little NBA playoffs. And yet we're both on the Thunder and the under. Well, more so on the under in the first game, and the Orlando Magic team total to go under as well. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But let's talk about why the under is such a strong play in this first game. I had mentioned it with Will, and let me just repeat the trend. If you have a playoff game in the NBA that starts at 1 o'clock Eastern time or earlier, and this is post-COVID, so since the start of the 2021 season, 12-2 to the under, going under by 10.6 points per game. And it makes sense. These players are creatures of habit. They are not used to waking up early and playing an early game. And so we see these matinee games, these day games go under in the NBA playoffs. Also, just defensive intensity picks up in the playoffs, but really, it's because of the start time. And because this game is in Oklahoma City, which is in the central time zone, this is not a 1 o'clock local start. This is a noon local start for the Thunder and the Grizzlies. You got a Memphis team that is coming off of 2 play-in games. You have a Thunder team that has just been dominant, statistically one of the best teams in years. I think the Thunder run the Grizzlies out of the gym, and I think this game goes well under. I'm willing to lay the points with the Thunder and go under the total because, as I mentioned, the unders are 12-2, but also the favorites are 11-3 straight up in these early start times in the NBA playoffs. And the home teams, if we just want to isolate the home teams, a little bit worse, 8-6, but it's the favorites that dominate. If you have a home favorite, they are 8-3 straight up, 9-2 to the under. So the home favorites, 8-3 ATS and straight up, covering the spread by 5 points per game, and the unders are going under by 9.1 points per game. But just in general, all of the start time games, regardless of home or away or favorite or dog, 12-2 to the under in these early start times in the NBA playoffs since the start of the 2021 season. And you know what? Forget about the start of the 2021 season. You want me to just go back as far as the database goes back? 17-6-2 to the under. That's unbelievable. The under is the strong trend here for this game between the Thunder and the Grizzlies. Let's check out your updated series prices for the NBA playoffs, and let's just start with this Thunder-Grizzlies series, which gets underway. The Thunder are a massive favorite. Let's not even spend too much time on it. It's minus 1,800, but if you wanted to look at the series spread here or like the series correct scores, if you want to bet the Thunder to sweep, that is the favorite at plus 165. The Thunder to win in 5 is plus 195. So that is ridiculous prices here on the Thunder over the Grizzlies. The Cavaliers are also the massive favorites over the Miami Heat. They are favored to sweep. If you look at the correct score for that series, you're looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers on the sweep as plus 160 as the favorite to win in 5. It is plus 190. Nuggets right now, a minus 155 favorite over the Clippers after that win in game 1 yesterday. I still think there is value on the Clippers. I like this to be a long series, and the over 5.5 now is heavily juiced at minus 250. If you look at like the series spread, if you want the Clippers at plus 1.5 games, that's the favorite at minus 190. I'd just rather take the Clippers to win in game 2 on the road. But even if the Clippers lose game 2 on the road, I still like the Clippers to come back and win this series. And then maybe you get a better price. Well, not maybe. You will get a better price on the Clippers to win the series if, in fact, they do lose this game 2 coming up. Elsewhere on your series markets here, the Knicks after that first game win are minus 650 to finish off the Pistons. The correct score in that series, if you think the Knicks are going to get it done in a sweep, is plus 300. Knicks in 5 is plus 240. I gave out a best bet on this series prior to the series beginning, which was the series spread. I mean, not the series spread, the total games at under 5.5. Now, the under 5.5 is still minus 115. That's a good bet to make right now with the Knicks up 1-0. But before game one, that under 5.5 was plus 105. It made zero sense to me because the Knicks were minus 400 to win the series. So in a series that you have a team favored at minus 400, why was the over 5.5 games the favorite? How crazy is that for a team to be minus 400 and the market's telling you that it's going to be 6 games in the series? Now, then the Knicks shouldn't have been 400 favorites. The math doesn't add up here. They're either not minus 400 favorites in the series, or it's not going to go over or it's going to go over 5.5 games, like one or the other. So I played the under 5.5 at plus 105. You can still get the under 5.5 at minus 115. The Timberwolves, we talked about that against the Lakers. They are minus 150. Lakers plus 125 if you believe in LA coming back to win, which I do. Will Hill, my guest last segment, also is on the Los Angeles Lakers. More so, we like the Lakers in game 2. That is a bet to be made in game 2. Lakers minus 5, not too much of a tax after the Lakers lose game 1. If you want the correct score in the series, you want to bet the Lakers to come back, maybe win in 5 games, which is, to think they win the next 4 games in a row, you can get plus 900 on that. If you think the Lakers win in 6, plus 600, that to me would be a bet to be made. Maybe Lakers in 6, Lakers in 7 is plus 300. Elsewhere on your series markets, we have the Celtics overwhelming over the Magic. They're favored to sweep the Magic. No sense in really getting into a lot there. The sweep is the overwhelming favorite for that. Same thing with the Cavs over the Heat. That is, we mentioned that. That is just a favorite to be the sweep as well. The Warriors and Rockets. This is where things get interesting. Houston is the better seed. They are the 2 seed. They have home court advantage. But the Warriors are minus 180. And the Rockets are 1-point favorites here in game 1. So if you think this is going to be a long series, which I do believe it goes over 5.5 games, that price is minus 200 on it to go over 5.5 games. If you want to bet a specific team to win, let's say in game 6 or game 7, Warriors in game 6 is plus 280. Rockets in game 6 plus 750. Rockets in game 7 plus 500. Warriors in game 7 plus 550. Those are the bets that I would make sprinkled across those outcomes because I believe this series goes at least 6 games. And then finally, the Pacers right now a minus 240 favorite over the Bucks. Milwaukee's still waiting to see what's going to happen with Damian Lillard if in fact he is going to make his return in game 2. According to reports, Damian Lillard has been cleared to play and is expected to return. Game 3 would be the most likely return. So a home game in game 3. There is a chance that Lillard could play in game 2. If Damian Lillard plays in game 2, we like the Bucks to bounce back. If Lillard does not play in game 2, and the Bucks lose and Lillard returns in game 3, first off, the market's going to tax you significantly on the game 3 with the Milwaukee Bucks. But when Damian Lillard returns, I like betting this Bucks team. If you want to bet them to come back and win the series, as I mentioned, the price is plus 195 right now. If you look at the series spread, plus 1.5 games for the Milwaukee Bucks. So that means they either win the series or lose in 7. It's minus 115. Plus 2.5 games. Well, that's just too overwhelming. You're not going to play that right there. But I think that this series could be a little bit lengthy with Lillard's return. Over 5.5 games is minus 180. But I do think that the Bucks, if Lillard does return and he is his normal self, are very live to come back and win this series. Speaking of the NBA playoffs, it's the VSiN Killer Sports NBA Challenge. And shout out Killer Sports. That's where I got that trend on the unders in the early start times going 12-2 since 2021. We've invited 15 sharp minds from the world of VSiN and Killer Sports to go head to head, making 38 picks each from the start of the playoffs all the way through the NBA Finals. That's a total of 570 picks. And guess what? It's all available to VSiN Pro subscribers. The picks are locked in 1 hour before the first game each day, so you're going to have fresh insights to guide your bets every step of the way through the postseason. And right now, you can get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59. Don't miss this playoff edge. Head to vsin.com/subscribe to sign up today. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. Coming up next, I'm going to tell you about the Major League Baseball schedule for this Sunday and the system plays that you need to be on with me. Coming up next, this is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, right here on the Sports Betting Network.